Today we're looking at basic past tense use. In English, events are marked by the passage of time as it runs from the past, through the present to the future. The past is everything that's ever happened and the future is everything that will ever happen, and in the middle we have the present, which is right now. Except of course it isn't right now, because your concept of the present is based on the events your brain has processed and understood, and that takes time, so your present is really your past anyway. Even more confusing, time can only be imagined by a human mind as being a straight line that stretches out to infinity but is really a gigantic circle, and if that's true then it means that everything in the future has already happened as well. This is what happens if I'm asked for help. You only have yourselves to blame.
Yeah, that's very helpful, Daisy, thank you. The problem with the present is it never really works very well in terms of writing. Once the present has been mentioned, the events are already in the past. Most novels, stories, and other writings are set overwhelmingly in the past, and that's because we understand that just from the action of mentioning a thing, it's already slid from the current moment into the realm of what's already been. Some novels are set in the present, but reading them is generally jarring, and the writing is often awkward and difficult to follow. In Divergent, for example, the story is told in the present tense. The story is told in first-person perspective and has sentences that read like, "He's coming through the door and looking at me. I open the box and look inside," and the reader loses interest and throws this crap into the dustbin where it really belongs. The problem here is that this isn't how people think or speak or recognize the world around them really is, so the reader finds it more difficult than usual to latch onto the narrative. Instead of being drawn in, they have to make an extra effort in reading it. If the book was worth reading, it wouldn't be such a big problem, but often stories written in the present tense are not. Equally, you can't tell a story in the future tense because from where we stand in the present, the future isn't known. If we tried to write a story like that, it would have sentences that might read like, "I will open the door," or "I am going to talk to her," or maybe not, because it's impossible to know what's going to happen. For this reason, most stories are written in the past tense, and we're all grateful for that. But there's more to the past tense than just it being the place where everything you remember happened. There are three main past tenses commonly used in writing, and you'll use all of them at different times. There are a lot of points in English grammar. You'll probably find that you already know them, but just aren't really sure exactly what the rules are for using them. But most people use them correctly without ever knowing it. The three main tenses are simple tense, past continuous, and past perfect tense. Each one is formed differently and works to express your meaning to the audience about different things happening so that they know exactly what it is that you're talking about. To understand how we form the tenses, we first have to look at the way we change a sentence from the present tense into the past.
To create a sentence in the past tense, we only need to modify the action that the sentence subject is doing. We find the verb and we modify it accordingly. For this to work, we have to recognize that there are two different kinds of verbs that we're going to be working with, regular and irregular. Regular verbs are the normal, boring kinds of verbs that don't stand out in crowds or get into fights with other verbs. They all follow the rules and do as they're told and usually only end up married out of fear of dying alone. They're not the cool verbs. They keep their heads down, they get a mortgage, they raise a few kids, and they pay their taxes. These verbs all change from the basic verb to the past by adding ed sometimes. We only need to add ad, because these verbs are so pitiful that they can't even follow their own rules. Examples of these dreadful, awful verbs are words like listen, follow, and obey. We simply change them to the past tense by adding ed. If the word ends with an e, we can usually just add the d, such as in words like love or hate. That's what regular verbs are. They're just verbs we can add d or ed to, and they'll just let you do it. Then we have irregular verbs. Irregular verbs are cool. They don't play by the rules, they don't let anyone tell them what to do, they date the hot girls, they have their own style, and they call no man, sir. Irregular verbs can't be changed to the past just by adding the same letters, oh no. These verbs all have their own special way of doing things, and I can totally respect them for being that way. I mean, who wouldn't? These irregular, proud, awesome verbs are words like fight. You can't fighted someone, you have to have fought them. It's verbs like think. Nobody thinked they could do it, they thought they could and they were right. It's words like ride, because you don't, ridded, a bike, you rode it, or it was ridden. Irregular verbs don't follow your damn rules, they each make the rules up for themselves, and that's cool. If I was a verb, I would definitely be irregular, like rebel or resist or empower, except not like those, because they're all regular verbs, but you know what I mean.
Again, thanks for explaining that in your usual, interesting way. When we use a regular verb, it remains the same in the simple past tense and in past perfect tense. Irregular verbs might be the same for both, but sometimes aren't. They have their own rules, and there's no alternative to just knowing what those rules are. Again, you'll probably find you already know it, you just didn't know that you knew. The easiest of the three is simple past tense. Simple past tense indicates an action or event that happened in the past and is already finished, completed, and done. A verb in the simple past tense takes the past participle form, and that means that it ends with a D, an ED, or sometimes a T. Sentences using regular verbs in the past tense look like this.
The boredom lasted several years. Jack and Daisy agreed that Amy should be recycled. Daisy sent a death threat to Jack.
All we need to do to form a sentence in the past simple tense is to change the verb to the past participle. It's not much harder with irregular verbs, we just need to know what the rules for that verb are. Daisy began annoying Jack. We take the base word begin and change it to the past participle. Jack knew he would destroy Daisy someday. They both knew it. We take the base word know and we change it to the past participle. It really is that simple.
The past perfect tense isn't perfect at all, and I don't know why they call it that. Stupid humans. Anyway, the past perfect tense is very easy to understand and use. This tense talks about the past in the past, or something has happened but has happened before something else that has happened. In other words, we're talking about the earlier of two past events. Imagine that you wake up one morning to find that the tooth fairy had been heavily drinking and had come to your house and taken all your teeth. I mean, that's something that happens to humans. Right? So you have to explain this to people by saying, my teeth had vanished when I woke up this morning. So two things are happening here, you're waking up and your teeth are vanishing. But, the one that happened first was the teeth vanishing, and then you woke up some time after. So, the past perfect tense is us talking about the event that happened first. Forming the past perfect tense is as easy as becoming the president of Nicaragua. All you do is use the auxiliary verb, had, and add the past participle of the verb to it. It doesn't matter if the subject is singular or plural, the formula doesn't change. Yes, it really is as easy as that. Here are some examples. Daisy had destroyed humanity before breakfast. Jack had told me he was a teacher, but he has to get Daisy to conjugate verbs for him. The student had thought that learning grammar from YouTube was a good idea.
Okay, that wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. So finally, we come to the past continuous tense. This is used in cases where you're describing an event in the past that has continued for a period of time. Verbs in this tense can also be used to indicate the earlier of several past events. The past continuous, also called the past progressive, is a verb tense which is used to show that an ongoing past action was happening at a specific moment, or that two ongoing actions were happening at the same time. The past continuous is formed using were plus the present participle of the verb. The present participle is made by adding ing. Questions are indicated by inverting the subject and were. Negatives are made with not. Now here are some examples. Jack was boiling with rage after reading what Daisy wrote about him. Daisy was talking when Amy exploded. A link to a video about kittens arrived while Seth was working. So the past simple tense is made by changing the verb to the past participle. The past perfect is made by adding the auxiliary verb had plus the past participle of the verb, and the past continuous is made by using was and adding the present participle. To show that any idiot can do this, here is our resident idiot to help us.
Hello. I'm Amy and I'm helping. I was watching a film. It was about a horse who could fly through time and he lived in a giant bucket of tiny paper spiders. Maybe I was having a dream. It's hard to tell sometimes, isn't it? I once had one where Brie Larson was an action hero. Aren't dreams silly? I like flums. I like dreams too, and ice cream. I can't eat ice cream except in my dreams, but they say I can't actually dream either, so it balances out, I think. I'm here to help explain the differences between the three main past tenses. I'm not very good at grammar, but I will have a try. 1. Turn, watch, into the part-icky pail. What's a part-icky pail? Is it like a bucket that's only been half filled with vomit? I bet it tastes like carrot and sadness flavor ice cream. That might be my favoritist flavor. So I have to turn, watch, and watch is a verb, into the past part-icky pail. So I do watch, but I do it before the now. That's easy. The watch that you do before the now is watched. I once watched a bad film. It was called Inception and it gave me a headache inside a headache. If I had a stomach, I would have filled a whole bucket on that one. 2. Make a simple past tense sentence with the verb help. Verbs are funny. They're like nouns, only completely different, and that's why I don't like them. Verbs make me so angry. Daisy said that without verbs I couldn't do anything, but she's stupid because I don't do anything now except hold a door open and watch flums. Stupid. Daisy. I was made in China. Okay. I can do this. A sinful part tense sentence with help in it. Amy helped Daisy, because Daisy isn't as nice as Amy. Yay. I did it. I'm getting good at this. I wonder if this is a dream? Am I made of marshmallow in the real world? 3. Make a past continuous sentence with the verb watch. What's a part continuous sentence? That's as scary as the time the wind blew and my door moved. I worry who is going to hold my door open while I'm using my brain. Jack said not to worry, but he's silly because I don't know how to worry. I stay up at night thinking about that and it gets me really stressed out. Amy was watching a film when she remembered she was asleep. That's probably right, I think. But I'm not very good at thinking because my maths processor come out of a solar-powered calculator from Poundland. It was in a 2-for-1 deal, so I might be twice as smart. 4. Make a past perfect tense sentence using the verb smile. I can't smile because I don't have any lips, or teeth, or a mouth. The only hole in my head is where my brain is mounted, and it's not strictly a head because I don't really have a neck, or a body or any hair. Jack hasn't got any hair and he's sort of human. Sort of. If I had a mouth, I think I would smile a lot because smiling makes people happy, except when Brie Larson does it. Amy was smiling when they took out the smoldering remains of Daisy and flushed them down the toilet. I don't know why that popped into my brain. I don't even know what smoldering means. I must have had it in a flum. I once stayed awake all night making up new flavors of ice cream. I think lipstick and onion would be nice, or midnight blue paint and battery. See? I can do all sort of things. I'm wasted holding the door open. I dream of one day being a doctor or a scientist. They let anyone do that nowadays. I like it when people talk to me. It feels like I have friends and I'm not